Hey friends, do you want to learn to make your own cozy farmhouse Christmas decor? Well then come craft with me. I'm Sarah, and welcome to my channel Primroselaneprims. If you haven't done so already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button so you can craft with me in the future, and let's get right into these Christmas DIYs. For this first DIY, we're going to be using one of these Dollar Tree mini tabletop Christmas trees. And I've gone ahead and put this together and kind of flipped it out. So, and if you've ever seen one of these Dollar Tree trees, you know they're not very full, but that's okay. We're going to make this look beautiful by the end. Now, before we start doing anything with the tree, I want to make something to put our tree in because these bottom plastic bases aren't the prettiest. So I'm just going to take one of these wood crates from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to take my Waverly antique wax that I get from Walmart, and I'm going to use my antiquing wax as a stain. I'm going to put it all over my little wood box here, and then I'll end up wiping off any of the excess so that the wood grain still shows through. And I'm going to do around the top edge, but I'm not going to do in the inside of the box. That part will be covered, so you don't need to do the inside of the box, just the outside and the top edges. Once my box is dry, I'm going to hot glue a small piece of floral foam down in it, and then I'm going to take some of my dried Spanish moss here, and I'm just going to fill in the top of this box. I want to hide that floral foam that's down in there. I'm going to use my hot glue to secure it down and around and just fill that in. Once I have that done, I'm going to pop off the base of this tree. We don't need it. I just had it on there temporarily. And then I'm going to take the tree and then push it straight down into that floral foam. You could add a little bit of hot glue to the bottom of it as well if you wanted to make it extra secure, but it stuck pretty well in mine, so I didn't add any. I'm also going to take that bottom layer of branches and gently push it down so that it's at a downward angle. Next, I'm going to go in with my ribbon. Now, I'm going to use this 1.5-inch wired black and white buffalo check, a 1.5-inch wired red and black buffalo check, and a burlap. The burlap is from the Dollar Tree. The other two are from Hobby Lobby. And I'm going to cut one strip of each of these at 12 inches. Once I have my ribbon cut, I'm just going to take and dovetail my ends. And if maybe you're new to crafting or not sure what dovetailing is, it's just when you fold your ribbon in half and cut at an angle towards the wired edge. It just gives it a little bit of a fancy decorative edge. Next, I'm going to go in with some floral wire. You can find this at the Dollar Tree or Walmart. That's where this floral wire, Amazon has it too. And I'm just going to cut just a few inches. And I'm going to fold my ribbon in half, find the center, pinch it. I'm going to wrap my floral wire around that and twist it tightly. Then I'm going to take and working on this bottom section of the tree in between the branches. You can see there's a nice big empty section here between these. I'm going to take and I'm just going to wire my ribbon right to the center pole of the tree. And I'm going to repeat this process with the red and black buffalo check and with the white and black buffalo check. And I'm just going to stagger around that pole. Once I have all the ribbon on that bottom section, I'm just going to take the next level of branches and gently push it down so that it as well as angled downwards. Next section of the tree, I'm going to cut 3 more pieces of ribbon, except I'm going to drop it down 2 inches. So the bottom layer we did at 12 inches. This layer we're going to do at 10 inches. And we're just going to repeat the process exactly as we did for that first one. The really great thing about this project is even if you're not a big fan of the red or white buffalo check, you don't have to use those color ribbons. You could pick whatever color ribbon suits your decor. You could do a blue and a silver, and to make maybe a winter wonderland or a snowflake, or some just traditional red and green, or just whatever suits your decor style. So it's really customizable. And once again, once I get the ribbon on, just take those branches and gently push them at a downward angle. And then we're ready to move on to the next section. So we've done 12 inches, 10 inches, and we're going to drop the next section down by 2 more inches. So the next section will cut at 8 inches. So 12, 10, and now 8. For the last section, we're going to drop down 2 more inches and cut the ribbon at 6 inches. So 12, 10, 8, and 6, and attach it the exact same way, and then push that top layer of branches at a downward angle. And you've got an adorable little ribbon tree, which is really cute just with the ribbon. But I just wanted to add a little more, and I'm going to take this pack of little red tracks that have the little Christmas tree bristle brush, bottle brush, not bristle brush, Christmas tree in the back. And I know last year you could get these at Walmart in the 4-pack as well as the Dollar Tree. Now I haven't seen them yet, but I'm guessing they usually tend to have these every year, so I will assume they will be back again. But my Dollar Tree and Walmart's just now putting out their Christmas stuff. So I'm just going to take this 4-pack and I'm just going to put one of the tree or the trucks on each side of the tree. And I'm going to kind of twist that wire around on the ornament so that it stays nice and secure and doesn't fall off. Look how cute these turn out. You would never know it was originally one of those scraggly Dollar Tree tabletop trees. These are great. Put on a shelf, or maybe take into the office on your desk, or maybe a college dorm. There's so many ways to use these. For this next DIY, I'm going to be using this pack of beads that I get off of Amazon. These have 5 different color beads that come in the pack, as well as 3 packages of twine that come with it. And I get these for $9.99 on Amazon. They have them in with the black and white buffalo check, and they also have them in red and green with red and green beads and the red and black buffalo check. And there's a total 250 beads in this set. It's actually a really good deal. We're going to use these to make some really cute farmhouse beads. Now I'm just going to take this little excess piece of cardboard I have, and I'm going to measure it at 5 inches. And I'm going to use this as the template to make a tassel for the end of my beads. So I'm going to use the twine that came with my package of beads, and I'm going to wrap it around my cardboard 20 times. This is the thinner twine, so 20 times wrapped around the 5-inch cardboard. Once I have that done, I'm just going to pop it off my cardboard, and I'm going to take another smaller piece of twine that I cut off, and I'm just going to tie that around the top here to secure the top of our little tassel. And I will note I cut this little piece a little smaller than I would like, so it made tying that knot a little easier. So make sure you tie it or cut it long enough so that you don't have a hard time trying to tie that little twine. Next, I'm just going to take, just kind of putting my finger here through the top of these, the top of my tassel here, and I'm going to add another piece of twine through and tie it off securely. This is going to be what we'll put our beads on. I'm going to leave a little decently long tail here on this knot because I don't want there to be any chance of this ever unraveling. And once I have that done, then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to cut the end of these loops, of the longer section of loops, to make my tassel ends, and then fluff it out. To hide that knot, I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue, and I'm going to go back over with my twine, and I'm just going to wrap it around that center there several times until that knot is completely covered and it just looks nice and finished, nice and pretty. If you're enjoying this video so far, I hope you'll give it a like, and you've probably noticed that YouTube has a new way to support creators and videos you like called Hype, and it's completely free. So if you like a video and the content that's producing and you hit those hype points, it just lets YouTube know that you're enjoying it and to know to send this video to more people. And if you haven't done so already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button so that you can craft with me again in the future. I would love to have you join me again. And here's our little tassel. Now for the string that we're going to put our beads on, I'm going to measure out 20 inches. Now you of course can make these as long as you want. If you want to make one longer, you absolutely could. But I'm going to cut out 20 inches. Now to make stringing the beads a little easier, I'm just going to take a little piece of Scotch tape and I'm just going to wrap it right around the end of my twine. And that's just going to make it so that it won't unravel as I'm putting it through the ends of the beads. It makes stringing the beads so much easier. So now I've got my packages of beads laid out here in the order I want to put them on my string. So I'm going to start with the natural wood color one. And that extra long tail here down at the end from where I tied the tassel on, I'm also going to put the end of it through the bead. I'm going to string that through these beads as well. Like I said, I left that long so there's no chance of that coming unraveled later. And it will be strung up through the bottom 3 beads and you'll never even see it. And then I realized real quickly I needed to add a little bit of tape to that one as well to make it string easier. But the pattern of beads, of course, I'm going to be using the natural color, the gray, the black. Then I'm going to go with the white and black buffalo check and the white one on top. As you can see right here, there's just a little tiny bit of that extra twine there hanging over, and I just snipped that off. So one set of our 5 beads, and I'm going to do this 5 times. So we'll have 5 sets of beads for a total of 25 beads on this. Now for the other end, I'm going to be taking these little ornaments that come from Walmart. This is one of the 6-pack of ornaments. I actually got it last year. And as you can see, they were $2.48 last year. And these are the ones I had left over. And mine are just now, like I said, my Walmart's just now putting them out, but they have raised the prices of these ornaments to $3.66 this year. But I'm going to take one of these little Christmas tree ornaments and I'm going to just snip that twine hanger that was on it off, and I'm going to string that right onto the end of my beads. Dollar Tree also has some really cute little ornaments too, little tag shaped ornaments and stuff that would also be really good options for these. There's so many different ways, so many different ornaments you could use on these, and they turn out adorable. You want to leave just enough room so that you can tie a knot here on the end to tightly secure your ornament down. Now, because I don't want a large piece of twine hanging off the end of my farmhouse beads and ornaments, I am going to snip it off down close to the base of the knot. But to ensure this doesn't unravel, I'm just going to take, such a small dab, a little bit of hot glue, put it on that twine and just tuck it down in there. That's just going to secure that knot so that it stays put, keep it from unraveling. And here's our cute little farmhouse beads. Now, another option for these, instead of using the thin twine, is to make tassels with the larger twine. As you can see, the one is the thin, like I used in the first. This is the larger 4-ply twine I get from Walmart. Now I'm going to just repeat the tassel making process the exact same way. The only difference is I'm only going to wrap it 15 times, whereas I wrap the small twine 20 times. And I'm going to make 2 of these. So instead of doing an ornament on the end of this one, I'm going to do 2 tassels, a tassel on each end out of the thicker twine. So I'm going to string my thinner twine now on to tie off my tassel really tight. And I want to make this one longer. I made that first one at 20 inches and I'm going to do this one at 30. And since this is longer, we're going to use 40 beads instead of 25. So the first garland, the smaller one, the 20 inches, we did 5 sets of beads 5 times for a total of 25 beads. And on this longer one at 30 inches, we're going to use a total of 8 sets of the 5 beads for 40 beads total. I hope that makes sense. And once you get all of your beads on, I'm just going to take and tie your second tassel on and secure it to the end exactly like we did for the ornaments on the other one. And look how pretty. These are gorgeous to throw on a tiered tray, wrap around a candle. Here is another one I did with a 3 wise men ornament that I got from Walmart. So many different ways you can do these. Lay them across a shelf, wrap them around a jug, like I said, a tiered tray. They just add such a rustic little bit of charm. For this DIY, we are going to be using this glass jug. I got this at a yard sale for $1. It's an old cider jug that you can get the apple cider in around Christmas time. And it looks like somebody had tried to paint the inside at one point and either it chipped off or came off, but either way, it wasn't coming out. And I did wash this and sterilize it very, very thoroughly before anything. But that paint on the inside wasn't coming out, but no big deal. You're not going to see it or even know it's there when I'm done. So to start off, I'm going to take and I'm going to give this jug 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint in the color white. You could spray paint this as well if you wanted to. Spray paint works great on glass. I like to use the chalk paint because it adheres well to the glass and it just gives that a little bit of extra thicker texture that only comes with using chalk paint. But either would work. Whatever is your preference, whatever is easier for you, whatever you have on hand. But I would recommend using one or the other just so that it adheres well. Acrylic doesn't adhere the greatest to glass. Next, I'm going to be taking this little Farmhouse napkin. Now, this is originally from Walmart, and it's one I actually had left over from last year or the year before even. I've had it in my craft stash. It's the last one I had. But you can find these little truck napkins on Amazon. Walmart has a whole bunch, and you don't even actually have to use a truck. You could use whatever design that you like, or even scrapbook paper. But I'm going to take and I'm going to cut out 2 of my trucks, and I'm going to separate the 2 layers of my napkin so that it's as thin as tissue paper. And I'm going to cut these trees out really close to the line around it. The really nice thing about using white napkins when you have a white background is that you hardly see the lines at all when you decoupage. And yes, in case you hadn't guessed, you probably already did, we're going to be decoupaging these onto the jar. I'm also going to be cutting out the 2 strips of the black and white buffalo check that's on the bottom of these napkins. I'm going to be using these as well to go around the bottom of my jug. But I'm not going to need the whole thing, so I'm going to trim these down so that it's just these bottom couple squares. It's about 2 inches or so wide, approximately. And then once again, separate the 2 sections of napkins. You just want it the thin top layer of napkin. And this one was not wanting to separate very easily. It gave me a little bit of a fit. But I got it. Now here's what my jug looks like after it's dried with the 2 coats of the white chalk paint. And before I put my napkins on decoupage on, I want to distress this just a little bit. So I'm going to take my chalk paint in the color ink here, and I'm going to dab it off so that, there's hardly any on my brush. As you can see, it's really, really light. And using a really light hand, I'm just going to gently dry brush some of this black paint around my jug. And of course, here on my handle, I'm going to get around this handle. I don't want it to look like brush strokes. If you see any here, just kind of rub it in. I just want it to look lightly distressed. And I'm going to do this all the way around the whole outside of my jug. Just really, really light. Light pressure. Now, once I've gone all the way around my jug once, I'm going to go back in. And if you've seen me distress before, you know that I like to go in lightly at first and then go back in and add a little bit darker distressing after. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going to I'm not going to add any extra paint to my brush. I'm just going to use that light amount that's already still on my brush. And I'm just going to apply a little more pressure when going over my jug. And I'm just going to make what looks like a little bit of darker smudges here, there, and paying attention to like the wording that's on the bottle there so that it kind of makes it stand out, that 1 gallon words that's kind of raised up there. And I'm just going to go around and just add some smudges where I feel it needs it. And of course, not forgetting the bottom. Once I have distressed to my liking, I'm going to go in with my matte finish Mod Podge, and I'm going to start applying a layer of Mod Podge around one side here on the bottom. I'm going to work on this on a half at a time because it's a rather large jug, so to make it easier to handle. So on this first half, I'm just going to put it along the bottom here because I'm going to take my black and white buffalo check napkin, and that's where it's going to go along the bottom here. It's kind of like a little border. Like I said, if you can't find these exact type napkins, you could also use scrapbook paper, the black and white buffalo check scrapbook paper, or whatever kind you prefer if you don't like the black and white buffalo check. So I'm just going to add my napkin into that wet Mod Podge and gently press it down. I just want to make sure it's down in there real good. And then I'm going to continue up the bottle with my Mod Podge. I am going to end up covering the entire bottle with Mod Podge, not just the places I want to decoupage, because 1, it seals this paint in really well, and 2, it gives the whole thing, keeps the texture the same all the way around. And above my buffalo check here, about halfway up in between the top and my little border, I'm going to add my truck. Now I can say I have used this technique of painting glass with the chalk paint and sealing it in with the Mod Podge. I've used it, I don't know how many more times than I could count, and I have never had a problem with chipping. Once I have my napkins in place, I'm going to go back in with my Mod Podge, and I'm just going to put a coat of Mod Podge over top of my napkins. And then continue up the rest of my bottle. So like I said, so the whole thing is covered in Mod Podge and sealed really well. Now I'm going to flip the bottle over or turn it around and start working on the other side. And the first thing I want to do is I want to measure out approximately how much of this black and white napkin that I'm going to need for the other side, because I'm not going to need the whole thing. And I do want to pay attention to where it stops, because I'm going to try to cut this on the same pattern as where it stops. So that way it looks seamless when it goes around. We want to hide where it joins together as much as possible. So I'm once again just going to go in and add my Mod Podge to my bottle here where I'm going to put my napkin. I'm gonna try to turn this here so you can see what I'm doing here, what I mean when I say I'm gonna line these patterns up here. So since that ended with on the lighter sections, I'm going to match it up the same. And now on this side, you can see I'm going to pull this over a little bit, overlap it slightly so that the two black squares are lined up. And then trim off that excess and press it down. So that way it just hides those seams where we can join the two napkins together. And then I'm going to go back over it with the Mod Podge and continue up the jug, just like I did on the other side. Now I'm going to add my second truck on the opposite side here. Just when you put these on, kind of look if you can, and you want to try to get it as close to the exact opposite side as possible. That way it's all kind of symmetrical, lines up. Once my Mod Podge dries, I'm going to take my thicker jute twine here and I'm going to hot glue it right up here around the neck of my bottle. And I'm going to wrap it and glue it around this top of this neck to cover these little glass rivets where the screw top lid originally went. Now I'm going to continue my twine all the way up and around that top edge of my bottle as well. Then trim it off and hot glue the edge down. Now to finish this jug off, I'm going to take another one of these little Walmart ornaments. And this one I have had in my stash for a while, guys. If you notice, the price on the top says $1.98. So that's from 2 years ago. It's just a leftover one that I have had in my craft stash. And I'm finally finding a use for it. But these little tags, like I said, I know Dollar Tree has little tag ornaments, and Walmart usually carries, if not exactly like this, something similar every year. And I'm just going to take this little tag ornament that says Noel, and I'm going to tie it right to the handle of my jug. And these jugs, you can keep an eye out. Thrift stores, I've seen them, but like I said, I know they always sell these cider in these large glass jugs around the holidays. I've actually bought them multiple times and then use the jugs to craft with afterwards. But here is what our adorable little farmhouse jug looks like once it's all said and done. Not bad for $1. I found this adorable little candy jar at my local Goodwill. It was $3.99. And I actually, when I got home, I found them on Amazon. They were actually quite pricey on Amazon, the exact same ones. So I actually found a really good deal. I was super excited about it. It was just a little plain. And I'm just going to do a just really, really simple, easy, quick makeover on this. And it's literally about as easy as it gets. I'm just going to take some of this black and white buffalo check ribbon that you can find at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to add this right around the base here because I don't like where the bottom of this and the top of this meet. I just think it looks a little boring and a little plain. So I'm just going to tie my ribbon around here. I'm just going to tie a simple bow. I'm not even going to hot glue this because I wanted it to be able to be changed out. If it's like, say, spring comes and I wanted to add a different ribbon to match spring decor, I could do that. Or if I change my mind later and just don't want the black and white buffalo check and I want, I don't know, red or candy striped maybe, I could easily just untie the ribbon and add a new one. And what a difference just a little bit of ribbon and a bow makes. But now don't panic because if you can't find these, because that's not exactly a thing you're going to see on every thrift store shelf, I'm going to show you how to make a similar type of candy dish using Dollar Tree items. And this is a jar. This is, I think, new this year to the Dollar Tree. I've never seen these in mine before. They have this one, which is at the green lid in the trees. It has snowflakes and trees on it. And they have one that's also red with candy canes and a stocking, but I like the green one. So I'm just going to take a terracotta pot and I'm going to take my white chalk paint and I'm going to make my brush, actually, I'm just going to wet it slightly so that it kind of thins my paint as I'm adding it on, thins that chalk paint down. I wanted to give this kind of a whitewashed, faded pot look instead of a clean bright white. Now you could absolutely just go straight, paint it clean bright white too, if that's your preference. But I just wanted to make it look a little weathered, a little farmhousey, a little rustic. So I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to put a little bit more paint on my brush and I'm going to go back in and add some thicker spots of white. So we're going to have sections where the paint's really thin and the terracotta is kind of showing through a little, and then some sections where the paint is a little brighter, like it hasn't quite faded in some sections as others. Next, I'm going to go in with my Waverly Antique Wax, and I'm just going to take a Kleenex here. It's a dry Kleenex. I didn't use a baby wipe because I don't want it to pull off or smear the white paint. So I'm just using a dry Kleenex here, and I'm just going to start just rubbing on a little bit of this antique wax here or there, and then using the Kleenex where it doesn't have any of the antique wax on to wipe off any excess that gets a little much. And I'm just going to just smudge this all around the outside of my pot. But hang on, I'm not done. Trust the process. Once I have that done, I'm going to go in with my white paintbrush again. Now, I haven't washed it out. I haven't added any extra paint to it. I'm just going to use the white paint the white chalk paint that's already in it that was left over, and I'm going to start smudging it around and using it to just smear and kind of blend in that antique wax a little bit with the white to give it that weathered look. This was just a fun one to play with. I really liked distressing this one like this. It was fun. And I think it turned out really cute. Now to attach my glass jar to the top, I'm going to use a combination of super glue and hot glue. E6000 would probably even be better, and I was all out of it. So I just had to use super glue instead. But it worked. Just make sure you get it on that outside rim because the outside of the terracotta pot's a little higher up than the inside. Next, I'm going to take some more of this black and white buffalo check ribbon, And I'm going to go and add it right around the base of the glass jar, right where the terracotta pot and the glass jar meet. And I originally was going to leave longer tails and use those as the tail of my bow, and I changed my mind, which you'll see here in a minute, and I'll trim those off. But I'm going to hot glue my ribbon around. And then I'm just going to tie a simple, just little shoestring bow. Here's you see I changed my mind and ended up cutting those extra tails off and gluing the edge of that ribbon down. And then just hot gluing my bow right to the center, right there where those two pieces, where the two ends of the ribbon come together. And there you go, a cute little candy jar out of Dollar Tree items. Leave me a comment. Let me know which of today's DIYs was your favorite and if you plan on trying any of these. So that's it for today's DIYs. I hope you enjoyed them. If you did, I hope you'll consider giving this video a like. Maybe share it with your friends. And if you haven't done so already, I really hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button so that you can craft with me in the future. It's completely free. And if you hit that little notification bell, YouTube will notify you every time I upload a video. That way you don't miss out on any future fun, budget-friendly DIYs for around the home. So until next time, happy crafting, friends.